everybody, and welcome along to a brand new video where the classic Doctor Who reviews are back. We're getting started on a brand new era of the show, quite possibly my favourite era, certainly of the classic series. It's Spearhead from Space. So yes, it's been a few weeks. We've had a few little detours into missing episodes, into Dalek movies with Peter Cushing, among other things. But now it's time to get started again, get cracking back in the proper classic series of Doctor Who. 1970, Season 7, Jon Pertwee's debut as the Doctor in Spearhead from Space. And for Doctor Who, this really was a time of change, very much a new approach for the programme. Of course, they decided to exile the Doctor to Earth for Season 7, partly due to budgetary reasons, just making it easier, sort of budget-wise, to be able to use normal Earth locations because it's all based on Earth rather than having to build sets of alien planets and whatnot, and also because of the sort of producers behind that thinking it was quite a clever idea and just a better way for the audience to be able to relate if it's happening on their planet, and also scarier in a sense as well. So I think that's something very much that Derek Sherwin pushed in the transition from the sort of the Patrick Troughton second Doctor era through to the third Doctor era, the unit era as it were, where it was needed, it was required, these changes, because the viewing figures had pretty badly declined in the latter part of the second Doctor's era, particularly through the War Games. It dropped I think as low as sort of 3 million viewers, which is pretty bad, particularly by classic Who's standards, which were generally a lot at times higher than New Who's managed to achieve. So the fact it dropped that low meant that things need to change big time. Of course, the introduction of colour TV, well, the colour TV had already been around, but doing Doctor Who in colour for the first time was a big selling point. Having a new Doctor rebooting the show, I think that's almost one of the arguably the biggest reboot the show's ever had, maybe up until Series 11, quite possibly. Maybe that's a little bit controversial statement, but watching Spearhead from Space, it feels almost like a completely different programme. There really is, everything's changed from the previous season, when you had Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, Wendy Padbury, 3 completely different regulars. All those regulars are gone. The whole setting's completely different, but having it Earth-based with Unit. Yes, you've got the Brigadier, which is that kind of way in, and a little bit of sort of Unit generally is the kind of way into the link between the two eras, but apart from that, it does feel very, very different. This is a very different Doctor as well. A Doctor who I was quite pleased to see, or reminded of in Spearhead from Space, is very much sort of suffering from the post-Who regeneration trauma, and shows that off in a very sort of entertaining and comic way. Of course, Jon Pertwee was very much known for being a comic actor before he took on the role, having done the Navy lot for many years, a sort of radio comedy programme. And so it was always, I think the producers were kind of unsure exactly how they wanted him to play it, how sort of comedic or not he could do. He would sort of play it. And I think it shows ultimately through his era that he plays it very straight and very serious. He's very much this authoritative Doctor figure, not some little sort of joker, and that's very much a change from the Patrick Troughton era. But straight sort of from the very beginning, initially when we see the Doctor in his bed talking about wanting his shoes and everything, there's lots of just sort of little silly comedy and comic moments which I think work really, really effectively. Probably better portraying the sort of post-generation trauma than the second Doctor did in Power of the Daleks. Of course, they'd never done it before for Power of the Daleks, so there wasn't really a precedent to a degree that had already been set, or an idea behind what you were going to do with it. So although, yes, Patrick Troughton does act kind of weird in a lot of Power of the Daleks, or the Doctor does, I don't think it's quite as maybe extreme as what we see, particularly in the first couple of episodes of Spearhead from Space, where the Doctor does very much feel like he's almost lost his mind to a degree, and doing a lot of crazy and wacky things, but also managing to escape the capture of several people who are trying to sort of kidnap him from a hospital, which is still quite impressive, and straight away bringing in the whole action man Doctor that Jon Pertwee was throughout his era, when we see him straight away sort of launching himself out the back of a van, on his wheelchair, wheeling away with his mouth taped up, just trying to find some way he can possibly escape all these people who are trying to kidnap him. It's just some brilliant scenes like that throughout this story that straight away kind of set out the sort of Doctor that we have, and then him getting his costume and everything as well, or nicking his costume in the hospital, and all those scenes. It just very much creates the Jon Pertwee Doctor so brilliant, I think, and that's really obviously setting up one of my favourite Doctors. In terms of the story, to a degree, Spearhead from Space is a fairly straightforward alien invasion story, or alien invasion of Earth story, that's been done many a time in Doctor Who, but it feels like this does it so effectively. It does it in such a brilliant way, because of course it's got all the sort of responsibility of setting up a new era, establishing all these new characters, the new location the Doctor's going to be based in, the whole scenario that he's stuck in, essentially, of being trapped on Earth. and also having a very solid and interesting alien plot behind it in terms of introducing the ideas of the Autons and the nesting consciousness, that these creatures that sort of that can inhabit plastic, create plastic, and want to take over the Earth with plastic, essentially. It's a really clever idea, which of course is explored again in Terror of the Autons, and then several times in New Who as well. I would love to see the Autons again. By the way, I think it'd be a great monster to bring back in Doctor Who in the future. Whether they ever see it, who knows? But just watching this again, they're so effective, they're so scary, of course they're so iconic, but those scenes in episode 4 when we see all the shop window dummies breaking their way out of the shops, smashing the glass, which we don't see because they couldn't afford to smash any glass, but then them walking down the sort of the streets, I think they were filmed in Ealing, something like that, shooting away at the various members of the public, and just seeing several members of the public just collapsing, being flown off into the scenery, and pretty sort of gruesome and scary moments. I thought that was quite shocking and quite dark for Doctor Who to be able to do that. I'm sure that was pretty scary for a 5-6-year-old kid at the time. It felt very much on the edge of what they could get away with. So it's great to see, and just reminded me how brilliant the Autons are. Of course, it's great to see the Brigadier back in this story, having met him for the first time in the Web of Fear, and then reintroducing him in the Invasion, then having him fully established, of course, a very much a main character in this season and for the next few seasons of the Pertwee era, which is great to see because he's always just an entertaining guy to be with. He's always having these sort of silly moments with the Doctor and whatnot, where they're always kind of, there's a slight tension there when he takes the key off the Doctor, and then obviously Liz goes and steals it back, and then he kind of gets a little bit in trouble between the Doctor and Brigadier, which it's all good fun, and it's always really fun moments between the two of them. And the introduction of Liz Shaw as well for this episode, which she only ultimately gets this season, which is a bit of a shame, I think, because she does feel like quite a different companion to a lot of the ones we've seen before. In some ways, she has it's a bit of a stretch, but some similar sort of abilities to what Zoe did in season 6, because she's got the similar sort of intelligence level. Obviously not outer Earth, outer world one, but a very high level of intelligence that she's able to kind of compete with the Doctor on that level, and very much they can work together as a team in a scientific way rather than just in a very much sort of friends way. Much as they become friends very, very quickly in this story. It's also very much that they're on the same level scientific knowledge wise. The Doctor's a little bit above that, but it does feel quite close. And so I think if that works quite effectively in this story, and means that she's able to very much understand what's going on, but also being very, very cynical, which is really intriguing to watch as well. When I don't really know maybe where she was when the Cybermen invaded, or when the whole of the London Underground was invaded and was shut down. Did she just forget those things happened when she was so unconvinced by aliens and whatnot? I don't know. It's a bit random. Just a bit of one of those weird, how can you really explain that things? But then, of course, she gets much more involved in the story and finds out about the aliens, and kind of is started to accept that aliens really do exist. And then we see a lot more of that through the rest of the season as well, which is lots to look forward to. So I thought, yeah, it's a solid introduction for her, even though she ultimately only gets quite a short run. I watched this story on the Blu-ray, or the Steelbook Blu-ray release of it, so I got to see it in, well, as close to proper HD as they could, because of course it was filmed on film back in 1969 due to strikes at the BBC, and meant they just shot the whole thing on film, which means it can be brilliantly upscaled into essentially, well, a version of HD. It doesn't look HD like HD does today, but it still looks very, very sharp and looked fantastic. And so the difference between watching the War Games, as good as the restoration is, and then coming to colour, HD colour for the Spearhead from Space, is just a massive difference, and feels, again, just increasing that feeling of it's a completely different show. It does look absolutely visually stunning. The only thing that I did notice were a few shots, particularly I think in episode 2, where there were sort of bits, what looked like bits of dirt in some parts of the screen, which usually I thought get completely removed by the restoration team. They're all amazing at that, and they do an amazing job generally, but I was just intrigued why there seemed to be a few shots where there just seemed to be a little bit of dirt on the lens. So usually in the top part of the screen or something like that. I wonder if any of you guys know what it's about. Whether it was just some restoration that wasn't quite done properly or didn't quite work, I don't know. Or maybe it's just on the original film prints they can't get off. I don't know. I'd love, if you guys do know, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. But that certainly doesn't distract from what's an absolutely cracking story. It flies along at only 4 episodes. It doesn't feel crammed. It doesn't feel too crammed, but it feels like it goes along at just the right pace. You're always introducing new elements. We're finding a bit more out about the Autons and what their whole plans are. Getting the Doctor becoming more and more the Doctor through this story before we get to sort of the end when he does obviously save the day with Liz. And just introducing these other different characters and things happening. And I think it just all comes together so brilliantly to really kick off the season with a bang, with a proper, slick, exciting, fast-paced, great story. From a personal side, I also wanted to mention that a lot of this story was filmed at a place called Wood Norton up in Evesham, which is in the sort of Midlands of the UK. A place where I've been a couple of times. Back when I was doing my BBC apprenticeship, it's essentially a BBC training base now, and I spent a couple of weeks doing some sound engineering training up there, and did get to go in the hotel and see some of the locations where it's filmed. The one thing in particular, which I will never forget, is the, you may remember, I think from episode 2 or 3, when John Pertwee, the Third Doctor, goes to have a shower. I have seen that shower. I have stood next to that shower. I'm really living the high life with Doctor Who locations right there. Intriguingly, in case you're interested, it is actually up a staircase, and you literally come up the stairs, and it's right there in the right hand side, so it doesn't look anything like what it does on the programme. You get that sort of deception that it's straight through a corridor and straight. It's really not, it's up some stairs and right. So that's quite cool, and just some of the other sort of exterior locations as well. I've sort of walked around some of those areas and whatnot. It's a very, very nice place. Ultimately, you're probably never going to be able to go there. It's very, very private. You have to be on a BBC training course to be able to go there. But yeah, it was just quite cool because I hadn't watched this story since I'd been there, and so to be able to sort of see it and just kind of think, I kind of recognise that place. I know it was 40 years or 50 years before, but I still kind of recognise these places, and it's just really cool that sort of, I've been to one of those locations and seen some of these places where it's filmed. That's really, really great. And I think the location filming, again, is brilliant for this story and works really, really effectively. Of course, they talked about in the documentaries about how much more freedom you get by filming out on location all the time, rather than having to do long scenes that you don't really know what to do with them. You have to do them against a dodgy set in a studio. But now you can just go out and go into these fields and around through forests and trees and stuff and film great moments. And so I think that works so effectively, just bringing the scale of the programme again as well. And just get all of it combined, I think, into a fantastic story. So yes, a brilliant start to the Pertwee era, and I'm really, really excited to get stuck into the rest of it. As I've said before, probably my favourite era of the classic series. So many brilliant stories. Even the next one, Doctor and the Silurians, I'm really looking forward to seeing that one as well. But this has been a brilliant start. I'd already remembered it being quite a good story, but watching it again, I can really, really remember how brilliant it is. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Do let me know down in the comments below what you think of this story. Do you think it is as good as the hype, sort of as everybody says it is? You're not quite sold on it? What do you think of the Third Doctor as well? And even at this early stage, sort of, how did you initially, if you watched this story first as your first Third Doctor story, how did you feel about this Doctor as you sort of started to become the Doctor in this story? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's just about it from this video, guys. I'll be back in next week to review Doctor Who and the Silurians and the story behind Doctor Who and the Silurians, not just the Silurians. But other than that, remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again next week for another video. Goodbye!